10 seconds remaining.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mars Dota 2 League qualifiers. We've got a 2-game set coming up between Hyper Glory Team and LGD. Okay, what? There's some issues with this overlay. So we can't even see the HGT team name, which is down here. And anyway, no reserve time. No HGT team name. There's probably some edits that need to happen to this before future days. But welcome in everybody. This should probably be our best match of the evening. Honestly, these two teams seem pretty evenly matched. We've both seen each of them once already today as well, both going 1-1 against their respective opponents there. So a 2-0 here would actually be a pretty big deal, especially since it's an 8-team round robin and only the top 2, from my understanding, will advance. So every single game matters a lot. And with that said, let's just get straight on into our draft. We've got this Visage, which we've been seeing all day long, banned out by HGT. And it looks like they saw maybe Storm Spirit performance a little bit earlier against Tongfu, so they're going to be getting rid of that. And the Undying and the Spirit Breaker are once again going to be banned out here by LGD. If they want the Queen of Pain, they might have to take it in these next 2 picks, because it has been getting banned out pretty heavily, and HGT going to get one of their signatures in the Wisp, which they do pick pretty heavily and do seem to do quite well with. But looks like LGD going to be going with one of the more popular picks, at least in the early stages of this version, and that is going to be the Gyrocopter. I think part of it is I feel like I've talked this point to death already, and it's only been 5 games, but there's more of a laning focus, there's more of an early game focus in the way that the patch is built at the moment, and Gyrocopter is amazing at that. Call down, the AoE is ridiculous now, and between Homing Missile and Rocket Barrage, he's probably one of the most difficult heroes to lane against in the game at the moment. That gives you the opportunity to pick up more greedy melee supports, to only have a single support and have a jungler, and still not be all that worried about the kind of things that the opposing team can throw at you. So I think makes sense to see as much Gyrocopter as we are, but I get the feeling that this might not be the be-all and end-all once we get to the end of the patch. I could totally eat my words. Gyrocopter could be the next big thing. We could start to see some adjustments in terms of builds and whatnot as well, coming out with some of the new items, but for the time being, it looks like Gyrocopter is going to be very, very popular. Meanwhile, HGT just going to grab that Tiny for the combo and start getting rid of some problematic heroes against the Tiny Wisp, getting rid of the Tide. Relocating into a Ravage is never fun, and getting hit by Anchor Smash as Tiny is painful. You're all base damage, you don't really build any plus damage, so you're getting the full benefit from that minus damage on the from the damage reduction on the Anchor Smash, and pretty much the same story with the Enigma. You just don't want to be relocating into a black hole, so HGT going to be dealing with that. Meanwhile, Bounty Hunter and Night Stalker are going to be the choices from LGD to get rid of. I think when you're running this kind of Tiny Wisp strategy, you're definitely looking for at least one hero to be giving you a little bit of vision. Whether or not that turns out to be a Zeus or a Beastmaster, or, I mean, in this case, a banned Bounty Hunter, or your Night Stalker, or just anything that can give you that little bit of extra scouting to be able to go in and set up with the relocate. Could be something like a Nyx Assassin, could be a Clockwork with a Rocket Flare. All you want is just to be able to see the enemy team and get a couple of relocate pickoffs if possible. Tiny Wisp, obviously still a huge split pushing force and still good in a lot of other areas, but I feel like the big difference maker is always going to be whether or not you get those couple of freebies from the relocate. And in general, LGD's lineup at the moment is not the best at dealing with relocate ganks. Often when we see the early Tiny Wisp pickups, you're looking at core Morphlings who can waveform away from ganks, and you're looking at Queen of Pains who can blink, and you're looking at, in general, heroes who are quite elusive to relocate ganks, but to me that isn't really the LGD lineup at the moment. The Shadow Fiend, good for the same reasons as we were talking about with the damage reduction on Tide Hunter's Anchor Smash against Tiny. The damage reduction on Requiem of Souls is a massive problem for Tiny, so that I think that's a very good reason to pick up the hero here if you are LGD. Not the best necessarily to put mid against a dual lane Tiny Wisp, which could be the case for HGT here if they really want to secure their Brewmaster's farm and secure his blink. They're over on the Radiant side as well, so they can cut down some trees. Wisp can run double stacks, and mid lane should be just fine. But at the very least, even if they put Shadow Fiend there, there's kill pressure, but you can always just stack and you can catch the Shadow Fiend up off of those stacks. Unfortunately, not the best dual lane hero if they want to try and throw a dual lane of their own towards mid, but I feel like that's probably not what they're even considering a little bit here. And well, with the Brewmaster pickup along with the Tiny Wisp, LGD are going to go straight into a Disruptor. So they get the Great Silence, they get a Glimpse, and all of that along with some control from the Kinetic Field to make life a little bit difficult for the Tiny to move around in fights. So this is already starting to look like a game where Tiny just needs to build a BKB at some point. Tiny ideally loves to not buy BKB ever and would much rather get Ags, AC, Crit, Butterfly, Satanic, Heart, you know, and any of the above instead of a BKB, but sometimes it's just a necessary evil for Tiny to be able to get anything done. And LGD have so much teamfight control now. Every single one of their heroes at the moment is an AoE teamfight monster. And with that said, we're going to see Rubik picked up by HGT, and we'll see if we can get some big steals and some big plays out of him this game. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that much value from the Null Field. I still think that ability is really pretty bad, and Rubik should be positioning himself such that his teammates probably aren't affected by the Null Field, but it could end up being somewhat relevant this game for surviving through all of the magical bursts. Meanwhile, Queen of Pain is not going to go unignored. This game will still end up being banned out by LGD, as HGT just removing the Clockwork from the pool. So LGD going to have to find something else for their offlaner. Do they need more AoE teamfight is the question, and I feel like they probably don't, in all honesty. But they could go for it if they wanted. There's still a Phoenix in the pool to add into this slew of AoE abilities that they've got working for themselves at the moment. They've got the Earthshaker as well to potentially block off the offlane or to go offlane. So both options for them to keep in mind here. And the more I look at it, the more that I'm convinced that this is actually a really solid Rubik game. You steal any ultimate, you're pretty happy with it. You steal Fissure, you're very happy. And you steal, even if you steal Kinetic Field, you're quite alright with that. But LGD are going to round things out with even more AoE teamfight as they add a puck to the roster. So I don't know how you teamfight into LGD here, especially for this poor Brewmaster. He is going to need a BKB to be able to get his Primal Split off. And I think, given the way that things have played out here, I think you'd probably put your Brewmaster safe lane and your Tiny Wisp in mid, and you secure that Blink Dagger and the initial progress towards the BKB for your Brew, because otherwise your primary initiation, which is the Brewmaster, is just way too risky, in my opinion. But yeah, okay, so Phoenix is going to wrap things up. He's going to be your offlaner. Does need to be a little bit careful against Disruptor, and Puck could prove to be a little bit tough, but looks like HUT want to try and fight fire with fire and might just run headlong into LGD with the team fights here. The one question that immediately comes to mind is whether or not you can miss on the Phoenix Egg if you're Drunken Haze. I suspect the answer might be yes, but not 100% sure. That Drunken Haze is definitely something that the LGD heroes are going to have to play around a little bit here, but Gyrocopter does not mind buying an MKB whatsoever, so I think that is going to be just fine as we wait on everybody to pick up their heroes so we can jump ourselves on into this game.
5 seconds remaining.
So, welcome everybody in. Let's get through some introductions over on LGD. We have Maybe on Shadow Fiends, Sylar on Gyrocopter, MMY on Disruptor, Yao on Puck, and Xiao8 on the Earthshaker, the mastermind behind this huge AoE teamfight composition. Meanwhile, over on HGT, XTT is going to be handling the Phoenix, Kaka on your Wisp, ZSMJ on the Tiny. We've got Pretty Haw on Rubik, and Air is going to be heading down towards the safe lane as your Brewmaster. In terms of early moves, we've got some boots up on Sylar, and LGD going to make their way down and see if they can get something done. MMY also with the boots first, so looking for a potential glimpse back or a kinetic field into some rocket barrage damage and a nice easy first blood. And LGD, are they even going to consider sticking around with an aggressive tri lane? I don't think they do, but the one reason that you might consider it is the fact that you know that Tiny Wisp are going to be pinned mid. The Wisp can't leave because Tiny will lose to Shadow Fiend, but looks like they're thinking that their lineup is, well, their trialing composition is not all that amazing. So just going to swoop through, block out the small camp, block out the big camp as well with the sentry ward, so making sure that they keep things locked down. You know that for the most part Wisp is going to be going for bounty straight into a bottle, so it's quite unlikely that the Rubik has got sentry wards as well. Pretty wisely, I think, has saved enough gold to be able to buy up some sentries if he realizes that his camp is blocked, but he's going to have to use both to cover both of these wards, I think, so that's going to be a little bit tough. Yao getting the Fissure block for the offlane, so Puck going to be secured a slightly easier start here, and against only the Rubik as a zoning support, I think this is actually a pretty decent game for offlane Puck. In general, not a fan of offlane Puck. I think it's a little bit difficult, and it's really difficult to catch back up if you fall behind, but I think this is probably a decent game for it, and quite a bit of value to be had against the Brewmaster if you do manage to pick up a blink at a decent clip. HET do manage to get their range creep out in front, so the lane is going to start pulling towards them, but Yao is going to grab some early CS here pretty much no matter what, and XTT gets knocked around up on top lane. Looks like MMY just going in with Thunderstrike and auto attacks, honestly. Maybe Sylar getting a Rocket Barrage off as well, and XTT with no dive is just dead. That's a first blood Sylar, showing why you have to respect the laning potential of the Gyrocopter, and I think showing a little bit of why Gyrocopter is so popular at the moment. So XCT is going to TP back, but this is a 0 experience Phoenix, getting absolutely nothing in the offlane. There's going to be level 2 up on the Disruptor pretty soon, so there's even the threat of a glimpse before too long, and this offlane is definitely not going as HET would have hoped. Mid lane, a little bit of a different story. 1 CS on the Shadow Fiend right now. ZSMJ doing a very good job of just sitting here, denying, keeping up the pressure, getting his farm. The trees have been cut down by HGT, so Kaka ready to start running some stacks and getting things done there. That looks like priority is going to shift over to camping at the 2-minute rune for the time being. And speaking of stacks, we've got a couple being set up by the Earthshaker as well. Xiaowei always playing the really hard sacrificial support in all of these games. MMY not able to get the glimpse off on XTT, but he dives into the trees, and the homing missile is still chasing. This is going to be your second death for the Phoenix, and this kill picked up by the Disruptor, so a little bit of farm going his way, and a nice cash flow injection as well to start working towards those arcane boots. So top lane going fantastically for LGD right now, and the Phoenix just has nothing. He's got two rings of protection, a single tango remaining, and he's level 1. I don't even know what you can do with this lane at this point, because the Disruptor is going to get level 3 pretty soon, so the glimpse is going to be even nastier, and yeah, Puck comparatively is crushing it bottom lane. He is got 8 CS, he's level 4, the Rubik can't do anything to zone him out. Air is even just getting plinked away by the Puck auto attack, and so some very one-sided lanes overall here. Bot somewhat even, but Puck doing a little bit better than I think he should. Maybe getting jumped here on mid, they're going to toss him back into the spirit damage. Fissure does come in and buy a little bit of space. ZSMJ going to keep on auto attacking away as the regen rune gets popped, and ZSMJ gets filled up on health. He's got another toss as well. Is there anything coming out to maybe right now? I think his bottle, no, it doesn't even have a bottle just yet. It's only got 7 CS, so okay, maybe he's just gonna have to tough it out here and munch a tango. Yao, meanwhile, Air getting aggressive bottom lane, but doesn't even have his boots on this Brewmaster just yet. Looks like he's actually picked up a bottle of his own. He's just bottle crowing that one back right now, so that's where the majority of the farm is gone. XTT once again forced to dive back on top lane. Even the slightest provocation from MMY. MMY's like, get out of my lane, and XTT just has to respect it. There's absolutely nothing that he can do to man up and fight here. Yao going to put down some harassment onto Rubik, and then safely orb and jaunt his way out. Playing some games down bottom. And Xiaowei will be able to pick up a haste turn here. Coming in mid, might be able to save maybe. Gonna turn around, try and drop some raises. Looks towards the Wisp, but Tiny keeping his attention on the Rockman. Gonna jump in as well from MMY with the glimpse back, but ZSMJ still has his Wisp at his side. and they've still got some bottle sips ready to be used, so it's actually just going to end up being maybe forced back to base. It does have this little stack being set up for him to recover a bit later on, but this is still definitely not looking all that great for the Shadow Fiend right now. But, like we always say, he's Shadow Fiend. It's even if he has a bad start, it can only go so badly. Yao gets lifted up bottom lane. This time around, a slightly better trade for HGT. And Air just continuing to go aggressive, knowing that he has these bottle sips ready to back him up. It's going to force out the salve from Yao, but he is almost level 6, so... Even if Puck doesn't get all that much CS, the levels that he's getting are going to be fantastic. And he can just start moving around and setting up ganks before too long. Free up this bottom lane for the Earthshaker to soak, or for the Disruptor to soak, and just go start running around and ganking with the coil. So definitely plenty of opportunities for him there. Xiao drops the Fissure, but ZSMJ is already being healed up. Tango and the bottle from the Wisp, no chance of dropping a race combo and finding that kill. ZSMJ does have enough mana with the stick charges to be able to run in and drop a combo, but I think probably feels that maybe he's a little bit too tanky to try and go for this one, and I think they've realized that the Earthshaker is just going to be chilling mid this entire time. They come in, try and drop the Avatos combo, maybe going to turn around here with the raise as everybody's low. ZSMJ with the stick charges needs another toss, another raise comes out, Wisp just barely surviving on the edge of this fight, 20 HP from Kaka. And HGT will finally manage to get on the board, securing that first kill of the game. And Kaka even going to be able to pick up Barun and just tether straight back over to middle lane. And Xiao going to soak this bit of experience in the meantime, but would definitely prefer that the Shadow Fiend was here and still alive, benefiting. But what can you do? Meanwhile, Sylar, what's he going for build-wise? Nothing too shocking just yet. Is Phoenix doing any better? Looks like he is. Now we've got level 4 up on XTT. All of the pressure mid lane along with the TP coming in from MMY. Looks like that's going to be enough to open up some space on the offlane, and the Phoenix can now actually start getting his game going. So I think really nicely played by ZSMJ and Kaka on this mid lane. They could have played this much more defensively. And I was about to say they could have played this more defensively and stacked more, but there is a sick stack back here. That's 4 camps ready to be cleared out. ZSMJ not going to get there in time to set up another one, but looks like they're just going to clear this one out. LGD brought Yao and Xiao 8 mid to try and find a kill here, but I think I don't know if they've been spotted. They're still in fog from this ward, but bottom lane's been gone for a while, and the Puck, who just got level 6, mysteriously disappearing, does seem to suggest that some kind of shenanigans might be going on. So ZSMJ just going to take the time to clean up the jungle and not put himself in harm's way. Maybe is going to be breathing a sigh of relief, and we'll be able to start grabbing some farm. Probably... Does he have a bottle? Yeah, so just going to be bringing his bottle out right this second, and this is where the recovery can begin for the Shadow Fiend. Yeah, meanwhile, bottom has just completed a wand, just holding on to his orb and playing it safe for the time being. Air, how is he doing? It's probably just straight Blink Dagger from this point forward, and again, his team has put a lot of priority on him, putting him down here on the bottom lane, and I think he does need to aim to pay that back as best he can with getting that Blink Dagger and getting moving relatively quickly. Rubik has managed to almost grab level 5, so HGT support level is actually looking pretty good. And Kaka, well, level 6 now as well, so potential relocate gank coming out before too long. They're only going to smoke the Rubik, but he's really the only person that they need smoked. If Rubik can go up into the jungle and find somebody, they can relocate the Tiny on top of them in the duration of the lift and find a kill that way. So it looks like Rubik is going to be sent off on a solo expedition. Going to try and place down a nice little ward as well to set up for future relocate ganks, but this is definitely mission impossible time for Pretty Ha. Smoke's going to get revealed. I don't think he's been spotted just yet by the Dire side. They get a glimpse of him there as Xiao 8 rotates back around, and Pretty Ha just going to check for stacks, check if there's any other ganks to be had. The Radiant know what's going on here as well, but yeah, Xiao 8 along with MMY just popped in a sentry. Nice easy D-ward and no problem whatsoever. Do manage to dodge that ward, dodge the gank, dodge the relocate, and keep their Shadow Fiend contentedly farming away. We've got, I think it's actually a net worth lead for the Gyrocopter at the moment, since the jungle creeps for the Tiny not really stacking up quite as well as all the lane creeps from Sylar, who looks like he's just going for a first item BKB this game. Definitely want to have that one against pretty much everything that HGT have. They are a very magic-focused team for the early stage of the game, and I would not be at all surprised to see double BKB coming up between the Shadow Fiend and the Gyrocopter pretty early on. Though we are likely expecting to see a mech out of your SF as well. Meanwhile, Yao, well, that first rotation over towards mid lane turned out to be a little bit of a waste of time, so he's just going to start farming up his Blink Dagger down bot, it would seem. Air does have a bit of a decision to make here as to whether or not he tries to go and gank immediately with this first Primal Split, but he's so close to the Blink Dagger that I think he probably just finishes that and goes right after. Well, the Hasterin could tip the balance a little bit there. Kaka's just going to be picking up an urn before too long. No boots on the Wisp just yet. Tiny doing fantastically. Up to 2k, and probably just going to see the... I don't know, do we see the straight up Aghanim's from him, or we're going to see a Blink Dagger? We've already got Brew, who's going to be buying a Blink to initiate, but LGD's heroes are all pretty gibbable with an Avitos combo. So there are definitely two different ways to approach this, and it somewhat depends on how HCT are going to be pacing this game. If they feel like they need to make the Tiny a little bit more of a late game force and just use the Phoenix and the Brewmaster as a springboard, they can definitely do that, or they could just get the Tiny running around like nobody's business and finding kills early. It looks like it is going to be the latter in this game, so this MJ does end up grabbing a Blink. So got to be looking for these relocate ganks, and LGD are going to be looking to scout out any ward placements, any aggressive movements, and just keep everything locked down as best they can. Jowett carrying a Mango, carrying a TP. He is always ready to respond to any kind of gank at this point. MMY going to be able to pull up and finish up his Arcane Boots in just a second if he's going to end up going for them. And Sylar just waiting for the creep wave underneath the tower, staying nice and safe right now. But we've got double Blink Dagger now for HGT, so they've chosen the more aggressive route on the Tiny, and this is definitely where it has to start paying off a little bit. Air can now start giving the bottom lane over to the Rubik so that he can potentially start getting a little bit of farm. The looks for the time being, Air is still more interested in just doing things himself. Avitos comes in, catches both, they burst down the Earthshaker, and the puck goes down as well. ZSMJ shows off that Blink Dagger in a big way, finds the double, and that was a lot of farm for him. Also going to be going for this relocate. MMY drops in the kinetic field, drops in the static storm. Kaka and ZSMJ not taking too much damage, but Kaka does drop low a little bit, and in comes the call down as well. ZSMJ finds the kill, but looks like he's going to trade his life away. Air now jumping in, pops the Primal Split. Does he have enough damage? They nerfed the Boulder recently, but the Fade Bolt also coming in. Nice Fissure from Earthshaker, buys a little bit of space, but the Storm aspect still finishes that one off. Xiaowei now bouldered up. XCT also here, but the Raze is forcing things back, and Yao back to the world of the living. Doesn't manage to finish off the Phoenix, but I think they can still just auto-attack the Sun. Hair drops the clap, finishes off Xiaowei. That's the second death for him in as many minutes, but LGD find the turnaround and even things up at the end of the day. 6-6, 4 dying on HGT, and what ends up being 5 for LGD. Earthshaker died twice, and Puck also died, but it's not showing here, so that was a total bloodbath. And nothing is gonna move at all. Looks like a little bit of a lead actually gained by LGD at the end of that. Tiny fattened up by that double kill, gets popped like a piñata, and LGD gonna be very happy with that. Yao, 1500 gold, not too far away from his Blink. We've got the mech up on the Shadow Fiend, so recovery is looking good for him, but he's getting jumped now in mid. ZSMJ and Kaka getting very aggressive, but looks like they are going to end up paying for it. Pretty Haw managing to get the Rocket Barrage, not the cooldown that he was looking for. And the Wisp will end up taking another spill. Homing Missile comes chasing in, but it's going to be swiftly dealt with by the Rubik. Mech is still on cooldown, but maybe packing 17 stick charges. Not feeling too scared for the moment. The Sun is still on cooldown. And while there is a glyph for HGT, there's no Primal Split. They are going to jump in anyway, looking for this kill on maybe with the Static Storm. comes out, maybe still alive, pops those stick charges, might be able to bottle back up. The coil comes out, catches two, ZSMJ and Air both in big trouble. Another clap comes out, but maybe is somehow still alive, bottling through. Mech's gonna cool down, and that is gonna be another 3 kills and the tower going the way of LGD. HGT, I think that was a little bit of an ill-fated fight. No primal split, didn't manage to burst down the Shadow Fiend, and that is now gonna be a 10-6 lead in LGD's favor. Shadow Fiend now leapfrogging the Tiny in terms of overall farm, and everybody on LGD going home with a lot of gold lining their pockets. Yao almost has his Blink Dagger completed 15 minutes in, which is honestly fantastic for an offlane Puck. 2, 1, and 3. He's had quite the game so far, and maybe not showing any signs whatsoever of the fact that he was up against that dual lane on mid. He is now more than caught up, and with 105 CS, he is actually the CS leader overall right now. Though some of that, I think, is due to the patience of Xiao 8, stacking up, sacrificing his own farm, and just making sure that the Shadow Fiend got out of the early game with too many scrapes on him. So, switch it back over to net worth. And away we go. The mech is still up and ready to go. They're going to haste on the Shadow Fiend, and 5-manning is a great way to respond to the Tiny Wisp. You do not really want to be relocating into 5 at the moment, and that's just all the more incentive for LGD to keep on going and trying to knock down towers at the moment. Going to smoke up the backliners as HGT rotate 3 around, but keep in mind that this can be 5 at a moment's notice with the Tiny Wisp just pushing up over on top lane, but I'm not going to find anyone off by themselves. Pretty Hot did manage to steal Fissure in the midst of all of that previous chaos, but he's only going to be able to hold on to it for a little bit longer. ZSMJ looking for the trade up top. Salaran maybe the only one showing down bot, keeping things at least a little bit mysterious in terms of the whereabouts of this disruptor. They're going to find that XTT, Static Storm, Kinetic Field, Fissure coming in as well. This is looking like a dead Phoenix. He's got some stick charges, but that's not going to matter as MMY secures that kill. 30 seconds dead for him. Does end up being a tier 1 for a tier 1 trade, but LGD continuing to get the better of all of these little skirmishes. I wonder if this is where HGT, it might be back to the drawing board a little bit. I think they probably avoid 5-on-5s. They've managed to get some good wards down, so this is what I was talking about in terms of trying to abuse that relocate, but LGD are in such a position that they can just keep 5-manning and avoid the relocates that way. So it's going to have to be the split push plan B for ZSMJ and Kaka at the moment. And this is where ZSMJ probably wishes that he had the already had the Aghanim Scepter completed. They are going to be relocating in. The Primal Split's already gone off. They bring down the Earthshaker, but the call down comes in. Puck, they're trying to burst at XTT, doesn't manage to get off the Supernova. ZSMJ in the middle of no man's land after breaking the coil is going to try and TP out, but he gets glimpsed. Actually, the relocate brings him back up towards top. He almost dies to the Thunderstrike, but they are both going to end up surviving. Auto attack flies all the way through, but ZSMJ still alive. Another auto attack as well from the Puck. Huge save from Kaka, and that's actually just going to end up being a 1-for-1 after Roshan falls. I thought that was going to go way worse, but HGT managing to clutch that one out a little bit. They've still got the Aegis over on the Shadow Fiend, and that was the Primal Split used, so this is now a minute and a half, probably more, where LGD can just go run at towers if they want to, but at least for HGT they didn't end up losing the Tiny and the Wisp when they were both on a hair left when it came to health. Well, we got some treads picked up. Air does have his Ogre Club, so the beginnings of that BKB coming up for him is level 11 as well, so rank 2 Primal Split ready to go, but they're going to lose this tier 1 tower up top, and that's only going to exacerbate this gold problem that they've got right now. The Gyrocopter has his BKB, still has a 9-second charge on that one. The Shadow Fiend's going to have his BKB before too long, and HGT just having to resort to try and find a tier 1 trade over here on the mid lane. Looks like the tier 2 is going to be dropped down on top lane as well. LGD considering rotating these smoked heroes over to mid to try and force something, but they don't have a glyph to be able to hold on a little bit longer. It looks like just going to accept tier 1 and a tier 2 for a tier 1. Are they going to try and hold on to bottom lane as well? HGT actually playing this one pretty nicely. LGD don't want to give away 2 towers for 2 towers here, but ZSMJ finishes the kill, manages to blink away. The rest of HGT is just back around the corner, and they could choose to relocate in here. The Shadow Fiend isn't back just yet, and he doesn't actually have a TP scroll on him. Pretty Haw steals the orb. Can he get out of here? Jaunts away. Yao's waiting for him, however, realizing what the Rubik was hoping for, and needs one more auto attack to finish it. Blinks forward, finishes off the kill. Almost big plays from Rubik. Yeah, just one step ahead, unfortunately. And it looks like LGD are just going to be able to continue. They're just going to continue leveraging this Aegis for the time being. 10-second BKB on the Shadow Fiend. Another 2 minutes on the Aegis. Nice, easy tier 2 tower. Nothing for Maybe to fear. Even with his teammates as far away as they are, there's just really nothing on HGT that is all that threatening to 2 of his lives with a BKB and a mech in tow. Tiny only 500 gold away from his Aghanim Scepter, but HGT already starting to run out of towers, and LGD's 5-man continues to strengthen and strengthen. Looks like Sylar is just going to be going straight for the MKB after his BKB to help deal with the Brewmaster. And well, speaking of Brew, still quite a ways away from having his BKB completed. And LGD actually just going to be sticking around here. They're going to let the Shadow Fiend auto attack away. Yeah, with the double damage, also getting in a couple of plinks here and there. Aegis is still up for a minute and a half, so I think they could stick this one out if they wanted to. They're looking bottom lane in a really good position. Top lane a little bit threatened, but I think it is still worth it to just keep on going if you're LGD here. The one thing that probably makes you hesitate a little bit about going up onto the high ground is 1, buybacks, 2, Earthshaker is super close to getting his Blink Dagger up, and there's actually quite a lot of unspent gold in general over on LGD right now that they might want to translate into items before doing anything too aggressive. The Relocate's going to go top lane, as it looks like HGT are just going to try and grab themselves a tier 2 tower or a little bit of damage. Glyph is going to come out from LGD here. ZSMJ just going to get in a few extra slaps before he gets relocated back, and I mean, HGT just making any play that they can at this point to make some progress on the buildings and stall the game out somewhat. Well, the Bounty Rune for Xiao is going to finish up his Blink Dagger, so nice grab there for him. And unfortunately, that is going to be the end of the LGD Aegis, but they got a ton of value out of it, so it worked out very nicely for them in the end. Meanwhile, poor Rubik has just completed his Arcane Boots 22 minutes into this game. A recipe away from his BKB. Definitely wants to grab that one as quickly as he can. There's good potential relocate wards down for HGT, but they're about to fade. And the map is going to be very dark and very scary once they do. Kaka relocate on cooldown for 6 seconds, and they're getting scattered out by the puck. ZSMJ is just going to leave the Wisp to die here. Can he find a nice spot to TP out over in the fog? Yeah, I was going to spot him. It's going to be a tether back to a creep. Kaka running them around in circles, but the rest of LGD are here, and all the Wisp is still going to end up going down anyway. At the very least, they don't have to use the relocate to save the Tiny, and ZSMJ will be able to continue farming up, but still a big gap for him to close between behind the 2 LGD cores. Often when you see a Tiny who's behind, he's still up there with the opposing team's cores, but this Aghanim Scepter came a little bit late because of the blink, and I feel like HGT just didn't get a ton of value out of the Blink Dagger grab. His farm speed is still going to pick up a lot from this point forward, and I think he's still got the potential to get a lot done this game, but unfortunately the rest of his team is already starting to fall off a little bit around him, and I think LGD still have decent answers in terms of teamfight control. So Tiny still needs a relevant damage item like an AC and probably a BKB to actually take any kind of fight, and it's probably just HGT having to resort to the split push as much as they possibly can. XTT and Pretty Haw gonna be caught out here. Sounds drop by out. Everything getting dropped on the Rubik. XTT does manage to dive and TP away, so Rubik's gonna tank the gank, and that's probably the best case scenario for HGT there, as they also managed to send the Tiny Wisp up to top lane. Keep things pushed out, keep playing the split push game, and try and avoid LGD getting anywhere close to your base. But for LGD, I think the recipe is pretty simple right now. They can wait around, they can grab the next Roshan, and then they can start making progress on the high ground. Looks like Yao is going to be picking up a Hex as the next item. Maybe has actually grabbed a Blink Dagger, so pretty aggressive from him. But they've got so much teamfight set up that if he jumps in along with Jiao 8, they can blow up anyone, really. So I'm not going to call it unorthodox, but I feel like a lot of players we would have seen just go in for a right-click item here. But just given the way that their team is composed, I think it makes a ton of sense. And Tiny once again up to his split pushing ways. Wisp is a little bit further back. Can they get the SMJ without sacrificing the Wisp? Will be able to. Kaka also going to find a nice little spot in the trees and TP himself away to safety. So that's time bot. They got almost everybody on LGD to come up towards the top lane. Air gets an opportunity to farm down bot. XT gets a tiny bit of farm over towards mid lane. Unfortunately, this Phoenix is still not even level 11. Don't know how long ago he picked up this Midas, but it has definitely not been a fun game for the poor Phoenix here. 1-6-1. The start that he had in the offlane, and the nature of Phoenix as just a teamfight hero in a game where HCT are not at all positioned to take a teamfight, that sort of left him in a bit of an awkward position. But what have we got going on? MMY, meanwhile, has picked up a Blink Dagger, so there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide from the Disruptor at this stage. We got the Blink on the Earthshaker that we talked about as well, but he's added some Arcane Boots to his inventory, still carrying around his trusty Mango. Jiao 8 holding that for an opportunity where he might just need that one final Fissure to win the fight, win the game. And why not? He's got the inventory space to carry it around at the moment. Air does have his BKB now, but as the game drags on, the Brewlings are just becoming easier and easier for LGD to focus down. They've got the MKB over on the Gyrocopter, and maybe can't even pick up an MKB of his own before too long. Demon Edge money easily in his bank account right now. And yeah, looks like once again just going to be LGD heading over towards Roshan. HCT, can they fight the LGD team fight? I don't think so. They're just going to have to do their best to split push, but HCT are actually going to be bringing everybody in right now, and LGD don't have two of their heroes here. Air's going to jump in, gets bashed up by Roche, unable to get the primal split off just yet, trying to fight his way through. Pretty hard, just getting right-clicked. He's dead. Blink forward for maybe a couple of BKBs used. ZSMJ managing to find Yao on the back lines. It's a 1-for-1 so far, as XTT pops off the Phoenix Sun up on the high ground. MMY brings Air back, unable to get out of the Static Storm. Can they focus him down before the primal split? That's huge. Amazing play from MMY there. XTT still stuck up on the high ground, and with only 3 heroes, HCT are not going to be able to continue this fight. Roshan finished up, and LGD... Oh, they get the glimpse on the Tiny! MMY spots him, and ZSMJ now in some trouble. Does have a Blink Dagger up in just 1 second, but there's other heroes waiting off to the right-hand side. Static, still Kinetic Field, not going to spot him. And a couple of pings going out. Fissure as well, ZSMJ. They've pinged now, still blinking around the edge. Still has not been spotted on these Static Storms. Looks like he's actually going to live. It's like, yeah, somebody go camp the side shop, but no, I don't think that's gonna happen. And his TP is actually still on cooldown for 30 seconds. This is bad. I mean, as much as it's nice that he survives, his TP is, yeah, he's buying it back in his stash just to check how long it's gonna be. He doesn't want to go into the side shop until his TP is actually off cooldown. But they do see everybody bottom now, so I think he probably just goes for it. But he's still stuck down there. LGD already starting to hit base. Air, can they focus him down in time? Looks like they might be able to. Wisp coming in with the tether, but the overcharge is not going to be enough. Air once again unable to get off the primal split. And LGD with an Aegis in hand just going to be able to start hitting this tier 3. BKB completed for the Tiny, so does have that item that he needs to be able to actually take a team fight, but teamfight advantage for LGD is still so much. Yao jumps in, pops the Rubik, no problem, maybe joining him. 2 hero coil goes out. XTT trying to dive away, but gets stopped partway through. So this MJ forced to pop the BKB defensively, getting some auto attacks out, but can't really find a target. Yao jumping away. XTT is going to fire the beam, but can't commit any further to this fight. And LGD with Mech and Urn, along with some bottle sips, just going to heal everybody back up and make their way back in. They know that the Tiny doesn't have BKB now, so he's pretty easy to focus. There is an egg along with the Primal Split ready for HGT, so definitely some big play opportunities in this next team fight. But the double BKB of LGD, both about to be up in a couple of seconds time. Air's going to jump in this time. Randy does manage to get the Primal Split off. ZSMJ jumps in as well, but he eats the Fissure. Xiao8 able to blink himself backwards, maybe just tanking through with the BKB. The rest of his team waiting for him up on the high ground. Primal Split getting focused down a little bit as HGT are unwilling to go outside of the base, and LGD definitely making the smart play, hoping to wait out the split. ZSMJ jumps in aggressively, hoping for the toss back, but now he finds himself in no man's land. Is there a glimpse from MMY? Relocate coming out from the Wisp. He's going to keep his Tiny alive for the time being, but the glimpse goes back onto... I don't know what that glimpse was back on. Maybe a BKB pop to Disjointed. Air jumping in with his BKB. Yao in a little bit of trouble. Phoenix-san gets dropped down. ZSMJ jumping in as well. Drops the Avalanche. Silo just trying to focus the egg. Won't even be able to finish it. Gets stunned during the BKB. LGD lose everybody. And the A just ends up being popped as well. Maybe the last man standing drops the Requiem, but can't get any more damage done as HGT clean up. Take the 5-for-1. And they get the Aegis. I don't think any buybacks expended by them there. And what a team fight.
Under attack.
The coordination between the Supernova and the Avalanche, LGD unable to focus it down, and I mean at that point they were seemingly totally committed to the fight. Good relocate as well by Kaka, keeping the Tiny alive during all of that. I think the glimpse may have actually glimpsed the Tiny or the Wisp back to where they relocated from, but that fight was absolutely total chaos. But if we take a look at... Didn't catch the fight recap, but if we take a look at the graph, you get an idea of the kind of swing that we saw there. 4K gold and 5K experience. HGT definitely going to have to be very happy with what they got there. Yeah. So this MJ going to get relocated up towards top lane just to grab a couple of extra creeps here. Kaka's actually got a lot of farm. So Gem picked up and could even see a Vlad's for the Tiny coming out before too long. Though the Vlad's could potentially fall to air, so maybe Wisp just going to consider something like a BKB, since there's a lot of magical damage, which is going to make it difficult for him to stay tethered onto his Tiny this game. We'll see what he goes for. Maybe meanwhile, nothing too flashy, just going to be going in for his Butterfly. Still going to take a little while to farm up to that one. Gyrocopter has just picked up an HOTD at the moment, and looks like probably working his way in towards a Satanic. So LGD, that was a big deal. They had the Aegis, they went and pushed the high ground, they didn't even get the tier 3, and HGT showing that with the Primal Split and the Supernova both going off, they do still have something to say about the way that these team fights are going. In terms of other items for LGD, nothing really coming up too soon. Puck's still quite a ways away from finishing up this Hex. And looks like, yeah, the Vlad is actually going to end up over on the Brewmaster, so Wisp is going to be able to... I think he probably buys BKB. Ghost Scepter definitely doesn't do anything for you, so... We will keep an eye on Kaka, though. Might want to hold on to buyback gold at the moment as well, since his Tiny does definitely need him to fight right now. So this MJ is going to be able to start working on that AC. And the thing that's always so terrifying when playing against Tiny Wisp is, even when you're super far ahead, which they no longer are, the potential for the Tiny Wisp to just get to a point where they win one fight and totally decimate your entire base is always a relevant threat. And I mean, for LGD, they've got a little bit of breathing room and still having these fairly healthy tier 2 towers up in both of their lanes, but I mean, both of these tier 2s are probably another equally bad team fight away from being lost. So this is a little bit scary for them. In terms of gems, I think we have a gem up on both sides, Yao carrying one and Air carrying the other. Got a couple of wards placed here, there, and everywhere. HUT managing to maintain a little bit of control over the map. Roshan respawning in about a minute and a half. So LGD not going to be able to go for that one. And on BKB timings, 8 seconds for your Brewmaster, 8 seconds for the Shadow Fiend, 6 seconds for the Gyrocopter, and still 9 seconds for your Tiny. So Gyrocopter BKB starting to wear a little bit thin. Titanic is going to be coming up before too long to help buffer his survivability a little bit, but next couple of team fights could be a bit dicey. Maybe doing his best to keep bottom lane pushed out, but ZSMJ's got this whole runway of top lane to keep the split push going and keep the pressure on LGD right now. They fought really hard to hold on to this tier 2 tower top, and always makes sense against the Tiny Wisp to try and hold on to those buffer buildings, but eventually they're going to end up falling. And they just don't have any vision at the moment. They've got this nice cheeky ward at the moment, which is actually spotting Kaka and ZSMJ at the moment, and just trying to choose their best angle of initiation. Kaka gets Echo Slam, but they manage to get the tether down onto the low ground. The Fissure comes out. They glimpse back the Wisp. Yeah, low on health, but now popping the regen. Wisp is going to end up taking that death as Tiny manages to escape, and ZSMJ just going to continue farming up. So they at least punish the Wisp, and with no Wisp, Tiny's going to be unable to split push. And with the tier 2 down top lane, looks like LGD are going to shift their attention towards this lane a little bit more. It's probably the most valuable lane for them, honestly. Pushing one of the side lanes, I think, is a little bit better if you're LGD than pushing mid, because there's less space for HCT to avoid all of your AoE wombo combo. And 2, you want to take top lane because you've already lost your 2-2 here, so you want to make it so that Tiny Wisp don't have a real threat of split pushing top. And 3, you want to take this lane of Rack so that you can guarantee Roshan every single time, because HCT are having to deal with this a little bit. Though they do have Tiny Wisp, so Tiny Wisp can just keep this pushed out and relocate in when they're needed. But I think top lane is probably the best value if you're LGD here. They probably push mid if they see an opportunity, just because it's the shortest lane, obviously, but I think in terms of strategic value, this top lane is definitely pretty high up there. Roshan just about to respawn. Unfortunately, LGD not around to catch it. I think they are going to check it out pretty soon. They don't have any vision at the moment, so they're just waiting to see heroes on the map. Though Tiny being on the map is not the most reassuring thing, since he's obviously going to be relocated in, and the rest of his team could be anywhere. There's actually a Hex up on XTT. I have no idea when this guy managed to farm this item, but this is huge. And the Roshan pick could be a pretty good stage for this next fight. Maybe he's got a double damage, however. No, they're going to be able to glimpse back air, just laying into him right now. Evasion not doing all that much. Hex going to buy a little bit more space, and that does allow air to blink himself away. Nicely played there by XTT. They do still end up giving away the Aegis to LGD. And we'll see if they can pull off a similar defense down bottom lane. ZSMJ rushing up towards top as quickly as he can to try and stall a bit, but knows that they were caught out in this area last time around, so it does need to be a little bit careful. And speaking of hexes, there is also one picked up over on Yao, so good look to just jump in, hex up the Wisp, and find a kill there. Kaka did actually end up buying a Ghost Scepter. I still don't think this is all that good. I mean, yes, the Gyrocopter, Flak Cannon, and the Shadow Fiend right clicks are a problem, but so are Fissure, Requiem, all of Puck's nukes, Gyrocopter nukes, Rocket Barrage, which you spam on a cooldown now because why not? It doesn't interrupt anything, and Static Storm, plus everything else. Maybe it gets hexed, but air gets hexed as well. Nicely done by Yao, queuing that one up. But Kaka comes in, trying to relocate him out. They still manage to burst down the Brewmaster. ZSMJ jumping in aggressively now as well. Just getting right click down, trying to retreat. Maybe lines up the Requiem, and one last auto attack seals the deal. Stylish play from him. The Monkey King bar bash prevents the Phoenix from getting out the Supernova. Air returns to the fight, pops the Primal Split to try and look for something, but he's just going to be focused down. ZSMJ also jumping back in. Salar manages to pop the cheese. Titanic already on cooldown. Kaka and ZSMJ not letting up, but the kinetic field opens up a little bit of space. Maybe still has this Aegis, and he's got no qualms about continuing to fight here. Nice stolen Fissure from Pretty Haw. Open things up a little bit. We've got another boulder toss onto Maybe, who wants to continue the pursuit. They want to punish these buybacks if they can. ZSMJ dragged back dead for 95 seconds. Aegis still on the Shadow Fiend, and looks like LGD have finally found their opportunity to make their way into the base. 2 buybacks and only the cheese pops from LGD to get through that. Looks like they should be able to stick around a little bit longer. The Phoenix is going to be back up in 8 seconds with the Supernova, but 70 seconds until they have a Tiny. LGD might actually just be able to clean house here.
Radiant structures are fortified.
And that was so well played by Yao. Yeah, okay, Air's had enough. Let's just go next. I don't know how they had vision of the Brewmaster to instantly hex him as he blinked in. I think you can say, okay, Brewmaster should have popped BKB before jumping in, so that he couldn't have been hexed and he would have guaranteed his initiation. I think that's totally a fair point, but credit where credit's due. Yao gets the hex. Yao wins in the fight. I think LGD were still pretty much in control of that game, but as we saw in the previous fight bottom, HGT still had a ton of potential to actually win a team fight and start dragging things back even further. So an exciting game one, but we're not done just yet. It's a 2-game series. Don't go anywhere, guys. HGT versus LGD for the Mars TV Dota 2 League. Game 2 coming up next. Welcome back, guys, to the Mars TV Dota 2 League, where the Dota action continues. It's LGD up against HGT here in this 2-game series, and as we load ourselves in, we will find LGD at a 1-0 lead so far in the series, looking to see if they can close things out and send a message that we're the TI invited team, you guys are the TI qualifier team. And this is our show. But HGT, I think, put up a really good fight in game one. I think draft proved to be a little bit more of a problem than anything. They had the Phoenix, they had the Brewmaster. They were hoping to put together some teamfight to tack on top of the Tiny Wisp, but LGD just chose nothing but teamfight heroes. And they will once again be snagging this early Gyrocopter pickup here. So it looks like Gyro is starting to cement himself a little bit of a place in the meta. LGD this time around will be banning out the Wisp. Not going to deal with Tiny Wisp a second time, and that's going to force HGT into taking a slightly different approach. Other thing to mention for this game is we'll have to see if LGD can be the first team to take a 2-0 in the Mars TV Dota 2 League. It is, of course, only the first day, and we've only seen 2 matches, so not a whole lot of data to go by, but it's been 1-1s so far, so this is definitely a good opportunity for LGD, sorry, to just poke their nose a little bit ahead of the rest of the pack. Checking in on our bans, pretty familiar fare so far. We've got the Undying and the Spirit Breaker removed. Bounty Hunter is the ban. I find a little bit surprising from LGD. I don't think that's a hero that we've been seeing so much of, though I think it is a hero that HGT have run in the past, even before the recent buffs, so I think that might be what Jowett is angling at a little bit there. We will see Lion, a familiar face from last patch, making his way in here. I think the only nerf that he received were the changes to Hex. I don't think there were any other direct nerfs in the patch notes to him, so definitely a decent hero to have here. And they tack on the Queen of Pain as well. I think the game plan here for HGT is they want to load up as much burst damage as they can, so that the Gyrocopter is just a total non-factor in these early team fights. And especially with the pure damage Sonic Wave going through BKB, it does make life pretty difficult for heroes like Gyrocopter and Luna, whose survivability is very heavily based around that magic immunity. So I think this is a decent way for HGT to approach the problem that was the Gyrocopter in the previous game. And LGD now actually going to dip a little bit into their reserve time already, considering this next pickup, so we'll see what they end up going for. I think already on the agenda, you do want a bit of lockdown for the Queen of Pain. The Puck could even be decent already here. That's probably a hero that we're going to be seeing more of with the more teamfight oriented style, and with some of the buffs to Puck's laning as well. But decent against Queen of Pain, good lockdown. Coil is amazing for setting up for call down. But looks like just for the time being, LGD are going to pick themselves up a Rubik. Rubik never going to be unhappy with stealing something from Lion. And even Queen of Pain is a pretty solid steal for Rubik. So I think a good pickup here, and picking up a support, as always, fishing for a little bit more information. LGD, a couple more respect bans coming out, as the Air Brewmaster will also end up being removed. Though I don't know if they would have... I don't know if ZSMJ is the Queen of Pain player, or if Air is the Queen of Pain player on the team. Air is typically the mid-roll and the 2 position, which is normally where you do see the QoP, but for some reason in the back of my mind, I'm thinking ZSMJ, Queen of Pain, though that might be a remnant of a bygone era.
5 seconds remaining.
Anyway, so Sand King does end up being the ban.
Reserve time.
They can't remove all of the teamfight, they can't remove all of the lockdown, but at the very least they can try and make life a little bit easier for this Queen of Pain this game. There's still Silencer in the pool, there's still Skywrath Mage in the pool, there's still plenty of long duration disables and things that could make life tough, but you don't know, at least set up the Queen of Pain as best you possibly can.
10 seconds remaining.
As Clockwork ends up being the ban
5 seconds
from
remaining.
LGD. So just focusing a little bit more on the offlane at the moment. I don't know if HGT also run Brewmaster as an offlane from time to time. Again, I'm still getting myself situated again in terms of what's happening in the Chinese scene. So And everybody else is also getting themselves situated in terms of 6.84. But LGD are taking their time, being pretty considered with these bans. I think this is their last game for the day, so no reason to rush into anything. Make all those considered decisions, and you definitely want to try and secure yourself that top 2 spot to make it through into the LAN finals, which is going to be a pretty big deal. I think at the moment it's going to be 4 Chinese teams and 6 international teams. So I think that was a bit of an expansion over the initial, what may have been the initially planned 4 international teams. The event is growing and should be, honestly, be a very exciting event moving forward. But yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Meanwhile, HGT, gonna make Rubik's life a little bit happier as they pick up the Earthshaker, but does give them a little bit more burst and a little bit more teamfight control. So I think they have the upper hand on that, at least for the moment. Pretty good counter initiation as well, since I think you know that LGD are going to be picking up something that's going to make this Queen of Pain's life at least a little bit difficult. What exactly that's going to be remains to be seen, but at least having a little bit of counter initiation is always going to be good. We could see an offlane puck again from Yao this game. I think maybe Storm is probably off the table against the Lion, the Earthshaker, and the Quap. So I guess that does also raise the question of what exactly maybe is going to be playing here. There is going to be that puck, so that could be mid or that could be off. I thought of Dragonite for a second, but I don't think you're putting Dragonite against Queen of Pain. So that's likely not happening. They could also run the Gyrocopter mid. I don't think it's the most amazing matchup against the Queen, but it's at least alright, and that would give them the opportunity to put something, put Sylar on something else. The one thing I do want to say about LGD is that last patch,
10 seconds.
I don't want to call their drafts stale, but I think they adapted quite slowly, and it felt like Sylar was really only being picked very traditional carries. He was playing a lot of Morphling, he was playing some Medusa, and it doesn't feel like he was necessarily playing the big meta carries of the previous patch, but well, we're already into this new patch. We're seeing some Sylar Gyrocopter, we're seeing some Sylar Lifestealer. I feel like LGD is starting to mix things up a little bit, and I feel like Xiaowei is maybe starting to find his rhythm a little bit more with the team. Though, of course, we'll have to see what happens over the course of the coming weeks, because I think there's actually quite a lot of Chinese Dota going on. There's this tournament. I think I-League is still ongoing at the moment as well, so lots of teams involved with that. And well, for anybody who wants to size up the teams moving into the TI qualifiers and into TI itself, there are going to be lots of opportunities for all of these Chinese teams to prove themselves and show exactly what they're made of. Meanwhile, HGT looks like they are going to be running either a core Lion or a core Earthshaker. Could be a core Witch Doctor, but I haven't seen a core Witch Doctor in a bajillion years. So I think probably just Earthshaker being played off lane this game is the answer, and then we're just looking for whatever the safe lane hero is going to be to wrap things up. LGD probably going to be a little bit of a clue as to where this puck is going with the next pick,
10 seconds remaining.
but we shall have to see. HGT have secured themselves a pretty formidable early game here. Every single one of their heroes is going to be able to fight very early on. Though the same is definitely true for the LGD side. So this game could turn into a little bit of a bloodbath. As we just have the Visage picked up for LGD. He's going to be a lot happier that his birds don't get popped by Sonic Wave anymore. And I think it's also a good answer to the Witch Doctor. Just being able to fly the familiars in and cancel the Death Ward pretty much no matter what is always going to be great. It's a little bit obscure, but I think it does definitely work and worth mentioning. Dragonite ends up being the ban for HGT. I don't know if DK would have been all that problematic, but again, I mentioned it as a potential maybe hero at this point, and I really don't think we're going to be seeing the Storm, so we'll see what ends up happening. As HGT also keeping things early and aggressive, do end up going for the Lone Druid, a hero that can definitely take a lot of punishment. Don't know where exactly we're going to see him laned this game, but I don't think LGD really have anyone that's going to be able to match up against him 1v1 all that well, though. I also don't know how HGT would put together an aggressive tri-lane, unless it was somehow an aggressive tri-lane with an Earthshaker farming, which strikes me as a little bit strange. But could definitely be the case. We do end up with LGD picking at the Bristleback, so it's still, I think, erring somewhat on the side of greed with the overall lineup, still liking to have 2 full cores, 2 full right-clickers. It is going to be maybe on that puck, but they've got the Bristleback for a little bit of backup as well. The Goo, I was about to say the Quills, but the Goo, rather, is always going to be pretty nice to have against the Lone Druid Bear. Kite it around, focus it down. It doesn't have all that much armor in the early stages of the game, so that is probably something of what LGD are looking towards here. And I think we had a couple of hero swaps, but looks like it might have just been supports there. So let's get ourselves underway with introductions. Welcome, overlay, got it, remembered. I keep almost forgetting, which is a little bit worrying. One of these days I'm gonna actually forget. But anyway, getting back into this best of 2, we've got LGD leading 1-0, and HGT looking to see if they can tie things back up. We've got Kaka over on HGT handling the Lion. We've got ZSMJ on Lone Druid, Pretty Haw on the Witch Doctor, Air on the Queen of Pain, and in the offlane with his decked out Golden Totem, we have XTT on the Earthshaker. Trying to get a ward down here to start things out, but LGD are already here. MMY on the Rubik with some boots first, maybe going to be handling mid on that puck with a Null Talisman. Sylar also with some boots. Xiaowei on the Visage, Sylar on the Gyrocopter, of course. And finally, we've got Yao in the offlane on the Bristleback. No attempt just yet from HGT to block out the Ancients to prevent a potential source of farm there for the Bristle, so that's definitely something that they're going to have to be watching out for. I would not be too surprised to see Xiaowei just alternating between stacking the big camp and the Ancients here to secure a bunch of farm for the Bristleback and the puck or the Gyrocopter. Ancients are actually a huge objective for LGD this game between the Bristle and the Gyro, and I think that's definitely something that HGT are going to have to respect, or this could be trouble. Both mid laners going to end up grabbing the Bounty Rune, and both mid laners are going to end up grabbing that 0-second salve. It's a big deal, and I think there's going to be other things happening, so I don't want to rant too much on this mid lane salve, but if you get the Bounty Rune and you buy a salve and the other mid lane doesn't, you just man up, you trade regen, you pop your salve, you're back to full, and the other mid lane is 200 health behind you, and that's the difference between totally dominating mid lane and having to sit back and just passively farm. So the fact that they've both got this salve kind of negates things a little bit. I think this matchup is actually puck favored now. I think historically some people called it puck favored, some people called it Queen of Pain favored. Personally, I think puck has the better attack animation, and the fact that Waning Rift does more damage at level 1 now means that I think puck has more kill potential on the Queen than the Queen ever has on the puck. But we'll see how things end up playing out. These guys are both very formidable mid players, and yeah, we'll let the CS and we'll let the play speak for itself. Pretty Haw looks like he is going to respect those Ancients a little bit and come over and block them out. Xiaowei, not stacking anything just yet, just running a couple of pulls and pulls through. XTT, despite blocking off the offlane, not really getting too much out just yet. In terms of your early ward placement, LGD again keeping a lot of emphasis on their safe lane. Got a little bit of vision down towards the bottom rune from HGT. And Xiaowei correctly realizing that XTT would have gone back and placed a very defensive observer ward after he was spotted over here, but it's so defensive that it's actually up on the high ground and Xiaowei can't do anything about it, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Dire also packing a lane ward, and we've actually got pretty symmetrical wards overall from both teams, being pretty conservative with the placements. Kaka finds a haste rune, has been scouted out by the Radiant, so I don't think anyone's going to be caught by surprise here, and Air, unfortunately, tucked up underneath his tower. No bottle just yet, won't be able to go and grab that one. So it looks like it's just going to continue to be a pull game for the time being. Both the Lone Druid and the Gyrocopter staying relatively even on farm. The Lone Druid is an interesting pick. I think it's definitely a hero that has more potential this patch than it has in the past. The Aghanim Scepter feels super gimmicky, but I mean, this can definitely... this ZSMJ Lone Druid can definitely be the core for this HGT pushing strategy, and with safe lane farm, you know, could see something like an early Radiance into a relatively early pipe, sort of a la Admiral Bulldog, and that could just be the 5-man engine for HGT to run down lanes and smack buildings. So, not a hero that we've seen a whole lot of recently, but I think definitely a hero that has more of a place in the meta than he did in 6.83. So looking forward to seeing a little bit more of him. And I think Radiance is a pretty decent item in this game, even if it's just for putting a lot of hurt on the supports and making Puck's life really difficult in terms of controlling the team fights and being able to get in with Blink Dagger, because he is pretty much the only initiator in this game. Maybe managing to phase shift and then dodge with the Illusory Orb everything. That was really nicely played. Air, I think, also playing that to the best of his ability, blinks in, knows that the scream might be dodged, but he's at least willing to waste the mana on the scream if he gets off the rank 2 Shadow Strike. But really nice Illusory Orb play there from Maybe, and staying elusive in this lane. We've got 17 and 7 on the Puck and 15 and 5 on the Queen of Pains. Looks like the matchup is favoring the Puck just a little bit. Sylar going to be turning on his Bassi as they go for a pull, a single pull here down bottom. Double range creep along with the Siege. And with the Rocket Barrage, should be able to clean up this wave pretty quickly and keep the push going. There is a glyph available for HGT, but I think their tower might still end up falling here. Kaka with the Invis Rune, making his way down to see if they can get something done. No TP on the Queen of Pain, and I think she's the hero that you want to be TPing in here if you're actually going to get any kind of a turnaround, but unfortunately no dice there. Is there a TP on the Witch Doctor? No. Is there a TP on the Lone Druid? No. Okay, so I think you're just going to have to go with Witch Doctor here. MMY being focused down, at least manages to get out the lift. Looks like auto attacks are going to finish him off, and that is going to be the first blood for HGT. I think still worth it. Pretty Hog going to get bonked by the rocket, but survives on 10 HP. Nicely done by Sylar. Finds the flak cannon off of the creeps and still finishes off the Witch Doctor, so they get the turnaround there. And Sylar also managing to snag the last hit on the tier 1. So despite getting first blooded, I think LGD is still coming out pretty decently from that exchange. CS mid is still neck and neck as ZSMJ does end up going for Midas on his Lone Druid here. I honestly don't know if it's that much of an accelerator for your Midas if you're getting free farm anyway. Getting your Radiance, sorry, if you're getting free farm anyway. I'm still assuming that it's gonna jump in mid, Sonic Wave. However, there's a little bit of a turnaround. MMY, does he have enough damage? Maybe. Lives, what a magician. Gets both kills. It looks like that was the perfect setup from HGT. They got the Earth Spike on everyone, but LGD lived through, and maybe, well, doesn't manage to go and get the rune and continue. But actually, there's a regen bot, so what do you know? Maybe he's gonna be just fine, and that is definitely tipping the scales on this mid lane. But that could have gone either way. There could have been a double for HGT, or that could have been a double for LGD there, but LGD just managing to sneak it out at the end of the day. And that is definitely a situation where the tiny bit of extra damage that Puck has on the Waning Rift at low levels makes all the difference in the world. So there you go. That's where the bounce changes start to come in. Checking in on our Earthshaker again, bottom lane. Did manage to get some levels after the tier 1 tower fell, so he's got level 4. His boots and his bottle, not looking too shabby. Meanwhile, off lane, Bristleback is trying to stack up some Ancients and is level 4 himself, so not doing too badly. That Centryward block has faded and is successfully going to get that pull through. So that is a, quad stack, no, triple stack of Ancients at the moment. And definitely some really nice farm for him, or the Gyrocopter to potentially grab before too long. Now, what is Gyro doing build-wise? Sylar is still just kind of the same old, same old. Looks like it's just going to be a bunch of little items to tank up, and then likely into the... I think he just needs to go straight BKB this game. There's so much lockdown and potential burst. Over the HT side, they're jumping in once again, looking for Maybe, but MMY's there with the lift, counter initiation. Maybe now drops down the coil. In comes the call down. Air will once again drop. They've tried so many times on this mid lane, but every single time MMY ready to counter initiate and ready to benefit from all of those kills as well. I think at this point you probably just call it quits on mid lane. You're like, well, okay, they just expect these ganks every single time, and all we're doing is accelerating Puck's Blink Dagger more and more and more. Already has treads and another 850 gold, and things in general looking really good for LGD here. About a 3k net worth lead and a 2k experience lead. Only 8 minutes into this game, XTT comes down, does manage to swipe the rune and TP out underneath Sylar, so nice little grab from him, but still going to be a very long time for this Earthshaker to get up a Blink Dagger and be all that relevant in this game. And Rubik already level 6, picks up the Shadow Strike, still just chilling around here. Maybe you can have Coil off cooldown in 20 seconds. I don't know quite where MMY is hitting his sights right now. It might just be to go and place a ward, honestly. And he's smoked, but I think his team wants him to stack Ancient, so he might just have to break this. Yeah, okay, poor MMY, not going to get any value out of that smoke there, but oh well. Getting some value for the Bristleback or the Gyrocopter. Meanwhile, top lane, Lone Druid Bear will be able to get the last... No, not actually the Lone Druid, it's actually Air who's going to be able to pick that one up. Coil comes out onto 4. Air getting lifted, they jump in with the call down as well. Sonic Wave goes back the opposite direction. They at least find the kill on the Rubik. Yao is extremely low over on the side. They lose 2, but XTT and ZSMJ still managed to tank through along with Kaka. They do end up losing the Quap, who goes in to try and finish off the Bristleback, and it ends up being a 2-for-1 trade. Great Coil for maybe. Fortunately, HE2 do still manage to get the tier 1 tower down, so at least that gold lining their pockets, but I think LGD should be able to turn it around and pick up a tower of their own. Sylar heading back to base, but just going to continue to tank up a little bit more, grabs his Ogre Club as the beginnings of that BKB. XTT, no Echo Slam just yet, but they're going to try and get some TPs in and catch with the Fissure. It's on both, and Yao forced to turn around. How many can HET get here? Nice familiar drops, opening up a little bit of space. Kaka might actually be in some trouble as he runs back to the sides. ZSMJ rejoins this fight. They've lost Yao so far. Maybe looking for a way out. Is going to jump his way over into the trees. But the Death Ward and the Scream comes in. Double kill from Pretty Haw. And HCT getting a little bit of their own back as they do manage to hold the tier 1 tower and grab 2 kills. Lots of experience and gold for that one as well. And taking a look at the graphs, a little bit of a nosedive down. And HGT keeping things close. As we pass the 10-minute mark and switch it over to net worth, Lone Druid's farm looking solid. 1 kill to his name, no deaths just yet. And 2.3k gold banked. Familiars are moving around the map and getting a little bit of farm. Kaka not having quite the game that I think he was hoping for with those early ganks. He's going to have a little bit of me time down bot to start working towards his Blink Dagger. As we have a skirmish breaking out over towards top, it's Fissure on Fissure. And Echo Slam also dropped by XTT, which MMY will gladly take for himself there. Yeah, coming over to start clearing out these Ancients. It looks like this stack should be enough for him to pick up his mech. So a bunch of really instrumental items coming up for LGD before too long. That Death on maybe is going to end up delaying the Blink Dagger somewhat. So looks like the Blink Dagger timing might be a little bit closer to the BKB than it is to this mech here. But LGD is still trying to make some plays. They end up finding Pretty Haw, not the best of kills, but they're still going to take it. Echo Slam dropped by MMY. I think he wanted the last hit there since he's not getting any farm priority whatsoever, but still getting some decent gold out of all of that.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
So Air is still a long way behind the Puck at the moment. Really, HET need him to live through a fight and soak up a little bit of the benefit. Yeah, there's probably a free kill for him coming up with this level 6 on the Lion, so he should hopefully be able to go along for that one, but yeah, this is pretty rough for the Queen of Pain, and if the Puck gets the blink before Queen can get, say, her Yules, then that's going to make life really, really difficult for Air here, so... That arms race is on, and the Puck is most certainly winning at the moment, and I mean, HET's lineup feels very based on taking relatively early fights and holding on to the early game, but just not the case, and Lone Druid is not the best comeback hero. You're hitting that power spike right around the time that you get your Radiance, and it's not necessarily all downhill from there, but that is definitely where you want to be taking full control of the game if at all possible.
Dire's structures are fortified.
And again, I'm no Lone Druid expert. I don't play the hero very much. But I don't know if the Midas is that much of an accelerator when you've got free farm. Definitely a question to pose to Admiral Bulldog if I happen to see him. But anyway, we've got the Blink Dagger up on the puck. We've got the is the BKB complete on the gyro. Where's the courier? It's Mithril Hammer, so not quite there just yet, but there's the Blink, and HET just not really able to do anything. Their tower push, at the moment, not too impressive, since the SMJ is just switching back and forth between top lane and the jungle to maximize his farm as much as possible. But LGD, I think, finding slightly better farm and slightly better map utilization overall. A lot of that big burst of gold being the towers and the ancient stack getting cleared as well. And right now, looks like Xiao just working his way towards a medallion, probably Solar Crest before too long. Sarlacc, you can see, is anyone actually going to come and TP down for this one? The tier 1's very low. There's a couple of heroes running over. Rubik's got a TP available. Bristleback does not have a TP at the moment. And Visage does in fact have a TP. Meanwhile, top lane, maybe TP at the ready. Where his Blink Dagger is still on the courier. I thought he got it delivered earlier, but looks like not the case here, and we'll finally be grabbing it 500 gold later. ZSMJ's got that relic up. LGD can see that, but still going to take another minute or two to complete his Radiance, and maybe jumps in. Air, almost able to get that blink off, but will end up dropping. That's another kill going the way of Yu Xiao Vision. Actually, it's his first kill of the game.
Tower is under attack.
There you go. And LGD, well, pretty convenient place for them to be. They're just going to head straight on over into the Roshan pit. No goo to tenderize Roshan a little bit more, but looks like the medallion is going to be more than enough for them right now. And Rubik even getting his hands on the blink out of that Queen of Pain engagement, so a really nice spell for him to have. They've got vision up onto the high ground. If anyone pokes their head forward, Rubik can blink up, they can lift, drop a call down, and Puck can join him as well. So there's very little chance of HGT defending this one. So Aegis is going to be over on the Gyros at SMJ's farm. Still great, but the question is going to be whether this Radiance is a big turning point for HGT. XTT also getting pretty close to a Blink Dagger, so two big timings that could come up at about the same moment, and also a Blink Dagger not too far away on the Lions. So if they can get those three items up, might be able to start turning the game, and that's where they might be able to start dragging their Queen of Pain back up by her bootstraps. So we'll see.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
But it's LGD are going to try and strike first. Fresh Aegis, Dreamcoil cooling down. Just hoping to find somebody, as Yao is going to start pressuring in mid lane. They've got their BKB delivered over in the Gyrocopter as well. But the Radiance is added to the inventory of the Lone Druid, and this is where ZSMJ definitely needs to try and choose the best fight for his team to take. I think they still wait for those other two items. I don't know if they wait around for the Aegis to fade though. MMY already TPing away over towards top lane. Blink gets the lift up onto Kaka, maybe over here as well. They see two up on top, and that might be an opportunity for HGT to try something mid, but the tier 2 tower has already fallen. No first hit entangle from ZSMJ, but he continues to chase forward. The rest of his team not really there just yet to back him up, and sit there just going to call it a day. Lion dying crucially close to his Blink Dagger on top, but they should be able to just grab that one. I don't think they've revealed the Shaker Blink just yet, and might be able to start turning this game around a little bit with the Radiance on top of everything else. Yao just grabbing up some treads, so nothing too huge coming out from him just yet. Likely a BKB as the next item. Maybe just farming up a little bit. They know that the orb is on cooldown, but able to blink away so far. XTT needs to lead with the Echo, or lead with the Fissure into the Echo. They've got the cast coming out as well, maybe. There's the orb, taking some damage off the Maledict, but I believe it's actually max rank Maledict, and that might be his death. He's gonna phase shift the final tick. Oh, didn't phase shift the final tick, but lived anyway on 1 HP. That was a bit of a mess up from maybe there, but okay, he lives. Has actually gone for a Dagon as his first item on the puck. There's so many squishy heroes over on HET that I think this changes from not solo kill to instant. Well, it probably changes it from like 10-15 second solo kill to 4-5 second solo kill in a lot of cases for these heroes. And that's the difference between killing somebody between in your waning rift duration and having to kill, having the potential for retaliation out of the stuns and whatnot. So I think this is a pretty good grab here for maybe. And he's had a really good game so far. 5-1-3. HET have not been able to deal with him at all. Echo Slam's on cooldown now after that attempted gank from XCT. Bit of a shame there. They do have the Blink Dagger now up on the line as well, which has not been scouted, so that could be a pretty big deal in the upcoming engagement. And it's for HET, it's just about finding this next initiation if they can. 3 heroes smoke to the side is just going to be Sylar solo pushing this lane right now. We've got another minute and a bit left on the Aegis. It looks like this tier 2 should fall no problem. Though HGT might have something to say about it. Zedisumder coming in. 3 HGT heroes smoke and the glyph does end up being used. Sylar, the only hero showing on the front lines, maybe just waiting back in fog. And LGD with some pretty good vision over the area here are going to see Air potentially making his move in from the side. Actually, an Ultimate Orb picked up here for the Queen of Pain, so it looks like might just be a Hex Rush out of her, which does mean that she has to play a little bit more defensively in these fights, but they've at least now got the Lion Blink and the Shaker Blink to lead things off, so the Queen doesn't have to play too aggressively.
Middle tower is under attack.
Yao is up top, and looks like LGD not gonna take this fight head on without their Bristleback, so just gonna wait around. Though that might end up waiting out the Aegis, so let's see if they continue to push even with the Aegis down. I feel like maybe is keen, but this is definitely a pretty dangerous fight. Kaka and XCT both waiting in the same place in the trees. If they somehow get scouted here, say by the familiars, that would be a total disaster, but it looks like they are eager to take this one. Air, not too close, but he can TP and needs to keep an eye on the health, but maybe jumps in, finds them both, kills them both. Double kill for your puck. Oh, that was just not pleasant. And with both Blink Dagger initiators dead for 20 seconds and no glyph because they used it earlier, LGD just goes straight up onto the high ground here. Radiant Spare gonna do his best to push things back a little bit. There is gonna be a lift, focusing in a lot of damage, maybe tanking some deeps. They've got the Sonic Wave coming in as well, maybe jumping back, but the Malik doing good damage. Yao taking the Death Ward to the back. Sylar lost the Aegis. He's only got 10 health left. The Orb of Venom not quite enough to finish him off. Air looking to finish off that kill, but won't be able to. And in the end, LGD actually lose nobody. Looks like they will end up dropping the Visage, but no, maybe not. Zhao 8 buys up. He's got another familiar drop ready. Radiant Spare looking for him, but no, okay, he's dead. He's dead. Never mind. Yeah, Fisher from XCT as well, just to make sure of that one. Oh man, that looked like it was gonna go so much worse for LGD. I thought maybe and Sylar were both dead, but somehow Gyrocopter survives at absolutely no HP, and LGD get out without being punished at all, and managed to take half of the health on the tier 3 tower as well. So we are still yet to see the power of these HTT Blink Daggers, and that is what they're looking to use. They jump in with the Echo Slam, but Sylar is still pretty healthy. Lift goes out. Gonna drag him back right into the middle of this call down. Maledict dropped down onto MMY of all heroes. And the familiar drops along with the urn. Looks like that might be the kill on the Witch Doctor. Maybe jumps in. Counter initiating after the Lion. The Radiance Burn doing a good job against MMY. But I think he might survive here. Double kill for maybe. Finding more. And looks like XCT also going to be brought down. There's your triple for maybe. And the Bear also going to end up dropping another 300 gold. Lining Sylar's pockets. HGT just wanted to show off their shiny new Blink Daggers, just wanted to get something done, but ends up blowing up in their face, and LGD now leading 15-5 in this game. Things not looking good for HGT at all. Gonna drop to about a 7.5k net worth lead. We'll jump to about a 7.5k net worth lead and about a 5k experience lead in LGD's favor. Maybe's farm rivals the Gyrocopter at this point, so he has just had a hell of a game. 10, 1, and 3 on this puck. And Queen of Pain is going to be able to pick up her Hex before too long, but we'll see if that is going to be the difference maker. As much as hexing the Gyrocopter and blowing him up is going to be great, the Bristleback is starting to become a force of his own, and I don't know if HCT have enough answers. If they get the right initiation down, Echo, get a Fissure, get the Earth Spike, you know, they can keep everybody or 2 or 3 heroes on LGD stunned for an eternity, but right now they just have not been able to find that initiation with the way that Maybe's Puck has been playing this game. Is he gonna upgrade his Dagon? I don't think you do, but it's definitely style points if you go for it. We'll see what he ends up opting for. I think there might be a little bit of a team discussion going on right now, potentially. No, just waiting to heal up and make his way. MMY does get scouted out. Looks like Rubik gonna end up going down. They dropped the Sonic Wave to get that kill. HCT are not messing around. They wanted that Rubik dead. Poor Rubik just glimmer caping in to try and get some wards down, but no dice. So Rubik's dead. Puck's still a little ways away. It looks like he is going to be going for a Hex of his own here. Air only a couple hundred gold away from his. The Radiant Spear doing a pretty good job of keeping these lanes pushed out and dragging the game, but again, this Radiance has not proved to be all that game-turning for HGT. There is some pretty good progress towards an AC on the Lone Druid as well, so similar to the Tiny, the Lone Druid does possess that potential to, if you take one big fight, you can go and take 1,000,000 buildings and get back in the game instantly, but let's see what ends up happening. Xiao Wei trying to save himself with the familiar drops here, but there's just too many HCT heroes. And once again, no messing around, they're going to drop the Finger of Death and find that kill. Coil is going to be dropped on XTT, tries to TP out afterward, but with the double damage on the Dagon, there is no running from Maybe right now. As does manage to get the turnaround, avenges his captain, and LGD just going to keep on cruising. 3.3k gold over on the Gyrocopter, 2.9k on the Bristleback. Bunch of items coming up for LGD before too long, and Roshan also going to be scouted out as well as the familiars poke their way in there. Man. So I should be able to go and grab that one pretty quickly. But though that might be the opportunity for HCT to find that fight that they've been looking for this entire time. I don't know if they've scouted Roshan just yet. But ZSMJ is nearby. He's got double bear. The one thing that I feel like we haven't seen players exploiting enough with the new bear mana pool is being able to give a TP scroll to your bear and drop it low and then just drop it, have it TP back to the fountain and recall it back out, so you can have always make sure that you get 2 full health bears for every single team fight. But I don't know if that's going to matter too much here. HET smoking through. Looks like once again it is going to be the Visage that they find. There's other heroes not too far away. Maybe might consider a turnaround here, but he knows that his Gyrocopter is a little ways away. They're going to put down the Glimmer Cape. That might actually be enough. Waiting a little bit longer. Yao is going to be hexed up. Echo Slam comes in. They're dropping everything on the Bristleback, but they haven't even found that kill just yet. He manages to get off the mech and turns his back, punches down the bear, and ZSMJ actually ends up getting stunned and will be brought down. 3 for 1 the trade. They lose the Visage, but he was dead anyway. And big turnaround there from LGD. Should just be able to go in and grab Roshan, no problem. Though they might even just push mid, no problem. And try and go and grab themselves the lane. There is a Glyph. And there is a sneaky Lion who might consider... Okay, I thought he was going to consider intercepting a creep wave there, but... No, Kaka does not want to have anything to do with that, and it's just going to be LGD going straight up onto the high ground. Sarla right-clicking away with his Eagle Song. Yao also somehow miraculously surviving through that last fight. Is also here to join the rest of the team. And what can HUT put together here? They're still 15 seconds away from having their Lone Druid, but that's going to cost him his resummon after he respawns. And Air doing his best to try and deal with these familiars, but won't be able to. So 2 or 3 falls, no retaliation whatsoever from HGT. Bottom lane does get pushed in a little bit, and the AC is now up on the Lone Druid, but things are looking better and better for LGD as time progresses. 12k net worth the lead, and 10k experience. That butterfly is going to be completed on a gyrocopter very, very soon. And Puck, well, his Hex is pretty much guaranteed at this stage. Queen of Pain, I think the Hex on the Bristleback is a little bit weird. I think you, as much as the gyrocopter came in a little bit late, I think you definitely want to be trying to Hex the Puck or the gyro as much as possible. Obviously, very easy to criticize. In hindsight, these fights are chaotic, and this was a really weird corner for HCT to be fighting a little bit. They also got kind of thrown off by the Glimmer Cape on the Rubik. I wonder if anyone's picked up some anti-invis after that. Lions got 1 sentry ward. Oh yeah, Witch Doctor's got 4 sentry wards. Okay, never mind. They got the anti-invis covered for the Glimmer Cape, but looks like right now the positioning battle is over Roshan. Smoke's going to be popped, but I think that was scouted out by the Radiant Obs, and it's going to be Yao with his back turned, waiting on the high ground, pops off the BKB, maybe jumps in, does get hexed, but he's able to counter nuke, he's able to jump out for now, gets Glimmer Caped as well, air, gets hexed up and brought down. It's a 2-for-0 so far, and Yao is going to get the double and make it 3. ZSMJ retreating back. XCT able to find some kind of angle off onto the other side of the fight as we have a bunch of scribbles on the minimap, but it all just translates to LGD heading right into the pit and grabbing this one easily. Queen of Pain not even getting the Sonic Wave off in that fight, and LGD having all of this great vision and control around the pit, making that fight really, really easy for them. It's going to be ages for Xiao 8, since apparently Yao values his stout shield a little bit more highly than he values the Aegis of the Immortal at this stage, but LGD are just so far ahead that I don't know what HCT can do. Even the bear with his AC is starting to feel pretty reasonable for LGD to focus down at this stage. And as much as I said in the earlier stages of the game that this might be a patch where Lone Druid finds a little bit of new life, this game does also go kind of a ways to showing some of the weaknesses of the hero. This game, they didn't really get any of his laning prowess, which I think is one of the big features that you're looking for. They're gonna look for Yao here. Echo Slam comes out of nowhere. They've got Yao right in the face, but manages to pop the BKB. Chain Stun is not perfectly executed there from XTT. And it's just gonna be the double TP out. Looks like the bear might not be quite so lucky here, as LGD continue to give chase. Yao's low, but he's not giving this one up. They do manage to get the bear out. So this MJ spamming that return for all he's worth, and does manage to get that one there. So they get a BKB charge in exchange for an Echo Slam. Not the best, but at this stage, if you're HCT, you're taking whatever you can get. Pretty hard, doing his best split push impression down bottom lane, but he's not really getting a whole lot done. And Xiao, it looks like he wants to finish up his Aghanim Scepter before he joins his team to start knocking down the remainder of LGD's buildings. Of HCT's buildings, sorry, went dur. Looks like the Lone Druid is going to be going for a pipe as the next item. Air has this Hex ready, but unfortunately it's the Bristleback TPing in, and I don't think that's a hero that you can go for here. Yeah, Pretty Hawk cancels his TP to try and go for this kill. I think that was a little bit of a mistake. They've jumped in, they've managed to find maybe, Hex him up. Glimmer Cape, however, keeping him alive for the time being. The call down comes in, and Sylar finding the turnaround, but they do lose the puck at the end of the day. There's the double for Sylar. Lone Druid trying to fight from the sidelines, but it's just the bear being focused down, and the homing missile is going to catch up with the Lone Druid eventually. Air trying to drop the Sonic Wave, but gets lifted back. MMY has the Fade Bolt ready. The triple familiar drops come in, along with the Urn Charge and the Fade Bolt. That's a triple kill for Sylar, and all that SMJ can do is retreat back to the base and let LGD claim this tier 2 tower up on top. Mid lane racks already exposed, so LGD, as soon as the puck rejoins them, should be able to make a bid to the high ground. They've got the Aegis up for still another 2 minutes, though again, unfortunately, it's on the Visage for whatever reason. But tier 2 going to be dealt with very, very quickly, and LGD just going to continue their march towards the high ground. It does actually end up being a Vlad's for the Lone Druid instead of the pipe, but it's going to take, I think, more than a pipe to get HCT through this next fight here. Focusing on the Spirit Bear. Triple familiar drops come down. Kaka jumps in looking for the stun, but gets stunned himself. Calldown comes out, and Gyrocopter just lays waste to the poor Lion. Earth Spike as well, stolen by Rubik. And MMY definitely going to be looking for an opportunity to use that in the upcoming fight. The HUT pop their glyph and buy a little bit more time for their Queen of Pain to get into position. Looks like XCT probably doesn't have a smoke to work with, so just going to have to try and get into this fight the old-fashioned way, but it's the Aegis Xiao Wei sitting on the front lines, plinking away at the tower. This is certainly unconventional, but with LGD as far ahead as they are, this is definitely working for them. The bear is actually dead for 25 seconds. HGT, I didn't even notice, but this is huge. They can't even... There's absolutely zero chance that they can take this fight. XCT is still looking for his opportunity to drop that rank to Echo Slam, but Xiao is just trying to bait spells in the front lines at the moment as Yao starts working away. BKB still on cooldown for about 10 seconds, but looks like this first light of Rack's going to be going down very, very quickly. MMY with the turnaround stun onto Kafka. Sylar pops out with the BKB and just starts laying waste with the flak cannon. Double kill for the Gyrocopter. Aegis ends up being popped, but doesn't really matter. Yao's dropped low. They're going to hex the Spirit Bear. They know that it was just resummoned. Air gets lifted up. He's going to be brought down. That's a 3-0, and that's your GG. LGD are going to be taking this 2-game series 2-0. HGT. That's going to end up leaving their record at 1-3 so far in the Mars TV Dota 2 League. It's still early days, it's still round 1, but with 8 teams and only 2 advancing, every single game matters for quite a bit, at least here in this early stage. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't go anywhere because we have ourselves another match. There's still one more BO2 coming up, which is going to be Immortal Magneto versus Newbie, so if you're keen for that one, definitely stick around here. Thank you everybody for watching. If you want to leave me any feedback on the casting, I'm Basekip. You can email me at basekipdota@gmail.com. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook. Would definitely appreciate hearing from you guys. I hope you're having a great evening or a great day wherever you are, and I'll hopefully see you for the next series.